Hi, fifth graders. So now that we know the two major volume formulas to help us calculate or solve the volume of a shape, I want to talk about some special types of questions or scenarios where you might need to apply that volume formula in order to help you solve. And remember, volume is a measurement of how much space a 3D shape takes up. So let's take a look at one special type of question or an example that you might see. So we could see a question like this. Martin is using unit cubes to build a tower in the shape of a right rectangular prism. A description of the tower is listed below. First, bottom layer is made of 16 unit cubes. Second, bottom layer is in the shape of a square prism. Third, 9 more equal layers of cubes are added on top of the bottom layer. What is the total volume in cubic units of the completed tower? So let's go back through line by line and figure out what each sentence is helping me discover so that I can solve. So the first sentence reads, Martin is using unit cubes to build a tower in the shape of a right rectangular prism. Well, the right rectangular prism part is important because that reminds me that I'm going to need to use a formula for volume. And remember, we have two formulas, either length times width times height or area of the base times the height. I'm not sure yet which one is going to be most helpful, so let's go on to the next sentence and the clues. It says, a description of the tower is listed below. Now, the first clue tells me that the bottom layer is made of 16 unit cubes. Since it's talking about the full bottom layer, I know that's telling me that the base of this shape is 16 unit cubes because the bottom layer makes up the base. So that tells me the formula that makes the most sense to use is the area of the base times the height formula. So for right now, I'm going to forget about length times width times height. I know it means the same as area of the base times the height, but they're already telling me that the base is made up of 16 unit cubes. But I can't quite get that mental picture yet because there's a lot of different ways I can make 16 cubes. So let's look at the second clue. The second clue said the bottom layer is in the shape of a square prism. Now that word square is the most important word in this sentence because the only way to make something a square is to have the side measurements equal. What that tells me is that these 16 cubes have to be arranged in a 4 by 4 grid in order for them to be a square. So that's allowing me to get a picture of the bottom layer with 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes wide and 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes deep. I could count all these cubes and see that there are 16 in the bottom layer. So right now I know that I'm using the area of the base times the height, and I know that that base is made up of 16 square units. So I'm going to put check marks next to the first two clues because this picture and this first step uses those first two clues. Now the third clue is important in helping me figure out the missing piece, which is the height. It says 9 more equal layers of unit cubes are added on top of the bottom layer. I know that this is just one layer, so if I have 9 more equal layers, that must mean that my entire shape is made up of 10 total layers, or a height of 10 units. So now that third clue fills in the missing piece for height. Now I can use my formula of area of the base times the height, or 16 square units times 10 units, to give me a total volume of 160 units cubed. So this is one type of question where you might need to apply one of those two volume formulas. Let's take a look at a second type of special question you might see. This question looks like this. Elena packaged 48 cubes into this box. Each cube has edges that are 1 centimeter. How many layers of cubes did Elena make? Now this time, I'm going to go line by line because the information that I'm getting is telling me different pieces. So the first sentence says, Elena packed 48 cubes into this box. That means this entire box is full of 48 of these little cubes. Well, I know that volume in general is a measurement of how much space something takes up. So this first sentence is telling me that the whole volume of this box is 48 cubes. So remember, I still have those two formulas. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use, but either way, the volume is made up of 48 cubes. I already know that V part of my formula. I can see from my picture that it's showing me the bottom base layer. So that means that this second formula, again, is going to be the most helpful in this particular question. So I'm again going to put that length times width times height in the back of my mind and focus instead on the area of the base times the height. So I can replace that volume, or the V, with the 48 cubic centimeters. I know it's centimeters because my second sentence tells me that each cube has edges that are 1 centimeter. That means each of these little lines that make up an edge or a face of a cube is 1 centimeter. So now I have to figure out, well, how many pieces are actually in my base layer? If I fill in each of these with orange dots, I know I have 8 and then 16 cubes in my base layer. So I can replace the area of the base with 16 centimeters squared. But I'm still missing the height. So if I'm missing the height, I can work backwards to help me solve this question. So I can think, well, what is 48 divided by 16 equal to? Since 48 divided by 16 is 3, that means I'm going to have 3 layers, or a height of 3 centimeters. And of course, eyeballing it isn't always the best mathematical plan, but I can look at this picture and say, okay, here's my first layer. Let me try to visualize. Does 3 layers make sense? That would make sense. I would have a second layer here, and then finally that third layer to fill the box. So those are two special types of questions that you might come across, and ways that you can apply the volume formula both to work forwards and to work backwards and find a missing piece. So I hope this helps as you use this to do your practice. Thanks for tuning in and good luck.